A customer dropped off this German-made hatchet for sharpening, but the handle on it was cracked and it was also wobbly in the head, so we decided that I would do a total rehang and refit of this hatchet for spoon carving. So I'll split out a piece of black locust and remove the bark, and then after I've squared it with the axe, I'll mark the shoulder using the axe head, and then I'll use a watercolor pencil to draw out the shape of the handle that I would like for this axe for spoon carving. I'm using a watercolor pencil for this because I'm drawing on green wood and the moisture would prevent a lead pencil from marking well on the surface. I'm making these relief cuts or stop cuts so that when I start to axe out the shape of the handle, the split created by my carving axe won't continue through and take away parts of the handle that I don't want to carve off. Because I'm working with green wood, it's quite easy to carve in this way, and this is a very efficient way of making a handle. To carve this spot that would be too small to hold on the end with my fingers, I'm actually using a technique that I use when I carve spoons for axing in the top of the crank, which is to lay the billet flat and then axe in from the side across the grain. The wood here is a piece of black locust that I received a little while ago, and I've been using it mostly for tool handles because it's a little bit too hard for carving spoons, but it's perfect for this kind of thing. And it's very stable as it dries, so I can expect that this won't crack or warp or move in any significant way while I wait for the handle to dry out a bit before fitting the head. You can see there that I used my axe to cut the stop cut this time instead of using a saw, and that's the way that you can do it as well if you don't want to switch tools or if you don't have a good saw handy. It's always useful to break the fibres of the wood before you chop away big chunks like this, so you'll see that I'll chop down the sides at a high angle first before I start to clear the chips. With the profile roughed out, I'll chuck it up in my vise and switch to the draw knife. Eventually I will make an attachment that will go on my Roman workbench that I can use as a shave horse for stuff like this. When carving downhill or down the grain, I find the draw knife works best used with the bevel side up. And for carving concave curves like this, I find bevel side down works the best for me. What I'm doing here is taking the squared off billet and then I'm making it into a sort of flattened octagon, so cutting 4 large facets on each of the corners. And then later I'll take my knife and refine those facets and carve them away to create a 16-sided faceted handle, which has the sort of level of smoothness and grippiness that I like. It's important to test it in your hand as you go to make sure that you're not taking away too much or that the shape of the handle seems good to you as you're going, even in this roughed out stage. I'm using my knee here to support the work in the vise. So here I'm refining those facets that I've just made on the draw knife with my slide knife. End grain chamfers like this are much easier to carve while the wood is green, so it's good to take advantage of that and get them roughed in before you dry the handle. Before I leave this handle to dry, I'll turn it over and make sure that I'm happy with the shape, and then I'll just quickly take my jack plane and flatten the two sides of where the eye is going to go on, so that I can use that as a reference surface for later. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 where I'll show how to fit the head to the handle.